rather than ask the question, can a child be introduced to reading at the age of 2 or 3, the appropriate question would be, how do I introduce the child to reading at an early age? We can look at it from a very technical perspective. The child is already demonstrating the fine visual discrimination that he or she has already developed. It is evident in the kind of recognition of hundreds of faces that the child is already able to do. But if you want something a little bit more tangible, one could actually offer this simple test. Show the child several images, close-up images of cats and dogs, and see whether the child is able to identify the cats and the dogs separately. You would be amazed at how well the child does. Now, this is not an easy task. When you look at these images, you would need to pause and think about, is this a cat or is it a dog, especially when it is taken close up. So the child has actually extraordinarily well developed visual discrimination at this point in time, at a very early age in fact. Now there are many different ways in which reading can be introduced, but the most important thing for us to understand is the fact that the precursors to reading are actually in the amount of listening that the child actually does. The prior familiarity with words through the listened process. If the child is also able to use these words in speech, that makes it that much stronger. But there are many ways in which, building the right precursors, introducing the child to the idea of sound and text as related. These are the fundamental things that we keep on, exposing the child to. Now there is going to be difference. There are going to be differences between one child and the next child in terms of how they take to it. Just because of the fact that the visual discrimination is where it is, does not mean that all the children are going to kind of get to that milestone at the same time. Different children will get there at slightly different points in time. But from the point of view of how you offer it, you can create a lot of language listening exposure to begin with. And then comes the idea of reading alongside a child. The audiobooks play a very, very large part in accelerating this sight and sound association that the child makes. And then we have many methods that are actually there in the formal space of teaching a child how to read. Some of these are, well thought out, productive. Some of these may actually be counterproductive, but that is something that we need to talk about later. For example, we need to discuss the ideas of how did we learn to read? What is behind this phonetic method that is being bandied about as, some miraculous way by which you learn reading? Is it really productive? Is it detrimental? What and how do I actually introduce a child to sight reading? So I don't want to answer those questions right now, but the simple answer to the first question is, the child is ready. The key question really is, do I know how to offer the gift of reading to the child?